Aaron, Ezra, Winnie, and I were at Concerts on the Square on Wednesday night. Some of you were there, I've heard as well. We didn't know about the terrible shooting on the east side of Madison until protesters came to the Capitol in anger and grief about the shooting of Corey Reese earlier that day. The protesters were mad and the scene was on edge. We had to explain to Winnie, age 6, and Ezra, age 11, Max is at Interlochen, what was going on, what was the tragedy, where was the shooting, why were people so upset, what happened, why were they there, why were they mad at the police. It was an immensely difficult week here in Madison, a terrible tragic shooting, the loss of life only a few miles from here. A sense of uncertainty and shock and unease and anger in this wonderful, caring, friendly city. A sense of uprootedness and brokenness. I'll admit, just at the beginning, I didn't have time to craft a longer sermon today about this sense of brokenness. And maybe that's a little bit of a cop-out. But likely I don't totally know what I want to say. And generally I'm not really afraid of saying the wrong thing, and sometimes I think it's just okay to speak words of anger and frustration, but I am also cognizant of fueling rage and hatred. I do believe that Black Lives Matter. I do think I know I experienced Madison differently than Black or brown Madisonians. I do respect police officers and law enforcement. I appreciate the care and professionalism they show here at Bethel. Just today, Stephanie and I met with our local FBI agent, as we do occasionally, to build relationships and to be in contact if, God forbid, anything terrible ever happens here. I also do think there are systemic challenges within law enforcement here and across the country. I do demand that law enforcement prioritize de-escalation, and I certainly support the right to nonviolent protest. But I also think for our community and for me personally, I do think that I can do better. I do think that we can do better. I know many Ashkenazi Jews have some struggles with white identity, and there's a mismatch between our internal identity and our outward perception. We are a small minority in America and a smaller minority in Wisconsin, 0.6% of the state. And no doubt, as we know and I speak about right here very often, there are horrific acts of violent anti-Semitism in this country, including one that happened in New York City yesterday. We encounter swastikas in schools. We know deep in our core that historically our acceptance has been challenged or stripped by governments. Yet, nobody crosses the street when they see me coming toward them. Store owners don't hover over white Jewish teenagers out of suspicion of shoplifting. Employers don't hesitate to interview people with Jewish-sounding names. A few years ago when I was a rabbi in California, the door to the middle school where I played weekly basketball was mistakenly locked. And the Asian and the white guys I played with went to every entrance, pulling on each door to see if it was unlocked. And eventually someone opened the gym by climbing through an open window. All of the black guys I played with waited in their cars, knowing that the sight of one of them pulling on doors or climbing through an open window would have caused a vastly different reaction in the heart of Palo Alto. And that was Palo Alto, but no doubt it could be Middleton or Verona or Oregon or Madison as well. This is a tragedy for our city, and I'm sure as a community we will continue to talk about it. There's more to say and there's more to do. Yet one thing I'm certain of is it is on us too. Rabbi David Stern of Dallas, Texas wrote a few years ago, The God who heard the cry of the oppressed requires us to listen to narratives of racism, to exposures of privilege and educational inequities, and mythic meritocracies. We do not need to agree with everything we hear, and we shouldn't, but we do need to hear it. And when that hearing produces pain, then we need to feel it. And if that pain motivates us to create a more just and safe society, instead of silencing the truths that disturb us, we will know that we have broken through the silence towards hope. Yesterday was Tisha B'Av, the Jewish day of solemnness and mourning when we mark the destruction of the temple. But it has also become, in our Jewish tradition, a day of deep introspection, of where can we be better. Some of us choose to fast that day or deprive ourselves of other acts of joy in recognition of personal introspection, in the recognition of brokenness. Many of us at Bethel no longer mourn the destruction of the temple, but yet we continue to hold this day as important for us to challenge ourselves, to look inward. Here's a blessing for Tisha B'Av. Place upon all beings peace, goodness, blessing, life, grace, love, compassion. Bring us to our knees in the face of suffering. Let us feel your presence in the midst of devastation and pain. Let shared sorrows and communal grief soften our hearts and turn us toward each other with kindness and love. Open the paths of life, generosity, kindness, justice, compassion, wholeness, and peace. Help us see blessings and perceive goodness. And please help us rise again and again into the light of possibility. May our broken hearts find comfort. May our grieving souls know love. And together may we create a world of harmony, justice, and peace. That is a prayer for Tisha B'Av. It is also a prayer for us today.